At 8:42 a.m. my security badge stopped working. Not because I'd forgotten it. Not because the system glitched. It stopped because someone wanted me erased before I even reached the elevator. By 9 a.m., an internal memo accused me of manipulating national infrastructure risk data tied to a £1 billion energy contract. By 9:15 I was escorted out of the building I had spent 11 years protecting. And by noon the man leading the investigation into my misconduct was the same mentor who once told me I was the sharpest strategist he had ever trained. He wouldn't meet my eyes that morning. They thought they were removing a liability. What they didn't know was that I had already prepared for the audit they planned to use against me. My name is Dr. Elara Quinn. For over a decade I built predictive security models linking London and Washington infrastructure systems. Energy grids, transport networks, cyber defense layers most people never think about until they fail. I was never the public face. That role belonged to Director Marcus Hale. Polished, decorated, camera-ready. He took the interviews. I built the architecture. 3 months before my suspension, I blocked approval on a fast-tracked AI contract connected to a private defense vendor. The risk model flagged structural anomalies buried deep in subcontract layers. Marcus overruled me. 2 weeks later, an anonymous complaint surfaced claiming I had deliberately altered risk thresholds to delay the contract for personal financial leverage. The accusation was elegant. Technical enough to sound real. Vague enough to spread fast. What hurt wasn't the charge. It was how quickly everyone believed it. Invisible people are easy to blame. The headlines were careful but sharp. Senior analyst under investigation. My professional profiles disappeared. My access credentials were revoked across systems I designed. Colleagues who once relied on my models stopped answering calls. One board member texted, "Best to stay quiet until this resolves." Silence is how institutions bury you. Not with noise, with distance. But 6 months earlier, I had started noticing something subtle in our internal server permissions. Small overrides. Minor inconsistencies. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to unsettle me. I didn't accuse anyone. I archived everything. Every override. Every clearance elevation. Every executive-level manual adjustment. Time-stamped. Encrypted. Mirrored in a private archive funded with my own consulting income. I didn't know when I would need it. I just knew someday I might. The disciplinary tribunal was scheduled as a closed session. No press. No transparency. Quiet removal. Marcus chaired the panel. He read the allegations with rehearsed gravity, as though disappointment were heavier than betrayal. When it was my turn to respond, I didn't argue. I invoked Clause 14b. Independent Data Integrity Arbitration. A clause I personally insisted be inserted into governance policy 2 years earlier. Most of the board had forgotten it existed. Marcus hadn't expected me to use it. External forensic auditors from Edinburgh and Boston were assigned. Not his team. Independent ones. The first finding was almost impressive. Server logs showed my credentials authorizing threshold adjustments. Clean. Precise. Damning. But the access originated from an executive-level secure subnet reserved for director overrides. My credentials had been cloned. The override permissions weren't mine. They were his. Then came the financial trail. The vendor's parent shell company linked to a private advisory group. 3 board members held indirect equity stakes, including Marcus. The room didn't erupt. They didn't need to. Silence shifted from dismissive to dangerous. Regulatory law required disclosure once executive conflict of interest was established. What was meant to stay private entered oversight review across both UK and US agencies. Financial journalists caught the shift. Headlines evolved. Whistleblower or scapegoat? Marcus called me that night. His voice was controlled but thinner. "You've made this messy," he said. I answered calmly. "No. You did. I just archived it." By the next tribunal session, board members who avoided my calls were suddenly attentive. The independent report confirmed credential cloning, unauthorized executive overrides, and undisclosed financial conflicts. The vote that was meant to permanently remove me instead suspended him pending federal review. But revenge wasn't my objective. Humiliation would have been easy. Structural correction was harder. I declined reinstatement under the existing leadership model. Instead, I proposed reform, dual key authorization on all executive overrides, independent AI ethics review boards, and mandatory transparent conflict disclosures for senior directors. One board member asked why I would limit authority I had just reclaimed. I answered simply, because systems fail when power becomes decorative. 3 months later, the reforms were implemented agency-wide. The billion-pound contract was reopened under full compliance review. Marcus resigned before formal charges concluded. Quietly. The same way he tried to remove me. Last week I walked back into that building. My badge worked. My name was restored to internal directories. But something had shifted. People didn't look past me anymore. They recalibrated. Not because I shouted. Not because I fought publicly. Because I built something that held under pressure. Marcus believed visibility was power. He was wrong. Power is architecture. It's what survives scrutiny. They tried to erase my name from the system. Instead, they proved I was the one who designed it. And this time, every override requires 2 keys.